Stangibelisco here. Just last night I received an email about my books in general and their usefulness in education for a particular person who was in college and was a student in college. He found my books useful as textbooks, some of them anyway. Probably he was referring to the Demystified series of books. Algebra Demystified, Geometry Demystified, etc., etc. And they have been fairly decent selling books according to my records on Amazon and my royalty statements that I get every 6 months. Some of them better than others. Most of them have received good reviews, although some of the reviews are not so good. It seems that a lot of people find my books useful for educational purposes, but some definitely do not and have not hesitated to express that opinion. I offer no serious academic qualifications in the conventional sense as an educator. I cannot claim to have such credentials like a PhD in any field or Master of Arts in general in education, a teaching degree or anything like that. I am an electronics hobbyist, and in particular, a ham radio operator. Professionally, my qualifications would rank me as a writer, but those are in the real world, not in the academic world. I have no college education in writing to speak of whatsoever, except for a couple of courses I took at the University of Miami in 1985 and 1986. But they were sort of as a lark, not for serious purposes at all. So my formal academic education comprises the degree of Bachelor of Mathematics, received in 1976 at the University of Minnesota. It was in the technical end of things. I mean, they had the School of Engineering, and that's where I got the degree in mathematics. I think overall in college, more than half of my courses were in the subject of mathematics. But I am not qualified in the formal sense to be a mathematics teacher, nor a teacher of anything. In fact, in the formal sense, I'm not really trained for anything at all. So to offer my opinion about education is a little bit like, some guy off the street offering his opinion about a fine restaurant. Well, does it taste good? Was the food good? Was the service decent? But certainly not qualified, quote unquote, in any sense of the word. So when it comes to education in the United States of America, I am no authority, but I do offer certain opinions as a person who's written a lot of books that people use as supplemental textbooks for education. And that's all I can really recommend my books as, particularly the Demystified series of books, or any of those with quizzes and exams in them. You can use them as supplemental textbooks in electrical engineering courses, electronics courses, mathematics courses, and general science courses at any level, high school or college. But I would never claim that any of these books was written with the intent of being a primary textbook, nor serving anyone as a primary textbook. And if you if someone actually uses it as a primary textbook, in my opinion, for example, Geometry Demystified, I would say that's a mistake. My opinion about education, well, I do have an opinion about education in America in general. And that is that the American educational system is not rigorous or exacting or demanding enough. It should, the requirements should be more stringent, but I can't exactly say how, because I'm not really a qualified person to offer that opinion. It's just my opinion and my experience. One of my memorable experience in college, one of my memorable experiences was sitting down with a student from Vietnam, and at that time, around 1974, 1975, the United States was at war with Vietnam, in particular with North Vietnam, and we were allies with South Vietnam, trying to keep the North from taking over. The North had a communist government, and the South a democratic or democracy type government, similar to the situation today in North Korea and South Korea. And but we were actually involved in what they called the Vietnam War, and I sat down with a student from Vietnam and found that he had taken about twice as many courses as the normal mathematics student would take, even in getting an engineering level degree in mathematics, and had gotten straight A's in all of them. It looked like it was just it almost looked like a fake transcript, that it had been somehow fabricated and was made up, because it was just A straight down the line. This guy was smart, but he had been trained well, I guess, before he ever got to college. He was college age, but over there in the country of Vietnam, and I guess in much of the Far East, India, China, Japan, and places like that, their mathematics education is far superior to what we get here in America. And I'm not exactly certain why, but it appeared that way to me. So my opinion about education in America was skewed by that experience. But as for my books being written with the intention of serving as primary textbooks, absolutely not. As for me being qualified to offer serious evaluations of the state of education in America or anywhere else, no, I'm sorry, I have to say I cannot claim to be very qualified. I am a hobby electronics enthusiast, most notably a ham radio operator, and I do have a lot of real-world experience as a writer for a major publisher, McGraw-Hill. But this is real-world, hands-on, nitty-gritty, down-in-the-dirt stuff. This is not academics, and so I must say I have to decline any suggestion that I offer a serious opinion about education. I am simply not, in my opinion, an educator. I just like to teach people stuff from my own experience and try to use plain, simple language to make complicated things understandable as far as I can understand them. And I'm a lot better at some things than others. I'm much better at, say, electronics than I will ever be at American history, for example. So thank you for the compliments on my work, sir. And I do try to make my books appeal to people, fun to use, and possibly useful as supplemental textbooks in some academic settings, but never as the primary text for any educational endeavor, any college or high school course. Maybe some of them would be awfully helpful, though, in ham radio, if you want to become a ham radio operator. But those are hobby level books. Those are never intended as professional texts, and especially as primary professional texts. So, after yammering about myself and my lack of qualifications for this length of time, I think I'd just as well say Stan Gibilisco signing off. Until next time, so long.